we kind of look at where can we find spaces where we can apply AI in a practical way in the trucking space. So for us today, that's taking the operational data of fleets and driving value back into their business. So that's one of our prime goals and directives, and every product we build is centered around that.
Welcome to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks. I'm your host, Brian Wright. What you can expect from Beyond the Bulldog is to learn, enjoy, and participate from the comfort of your seat, whether on the road or off. You'll engage in topics and stories from people that work throughout the trucking industry. This is mile marker 22. We have a conversation with Amit Ahluwalia, one of the co-founders of Class 8. Class 8 is a software company and partner with Mack Trucks, who offers the load finder solution for the spot market. In this episode, you'll learn about Class 8 and artificial intelligence, how truckers can leverage technology to be resilient whether in an up or down market, and learn about the all-new load finder solution offered by Mack Trucks.
You're listening to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks.
We are here with Amit Alhuwalia. He's with Class 8. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we're excited. You're a partner with Mack, and we get to kind of dive into technology, artificial intelligence, and then really touch about the load finder, which is the solution that Mack has. So first of all, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do, and a little bit about Class 8.
Sure. So I am Amit Alhuwalia, as you mentioned. I'm one of the co-founders at Class 8. I'm going to keep my, professional background brief, but I have a long-standing fascination with machines, both computers, cars, trucks, ships, airplanes. My logistics narrative probably started very young when I heard stories on my mom's side of her dad who moved ocean freight in India. And on my dad's side, he moved over the road. I call it over the dirt road trucking freight. So that was in Uganda in East Africa. So both parents' side was in logistics before I knew what logistics was. So I just heard those stories, and I guess somewhere deep in the recesses of my mind, they stuck. And my career kind of unfolded in automotive, trucking, and supply chain. So spent some time at UPS before I went and had my own business, and then landed in the software space. So that's where I am now. And where I am is at Class 8, which is our company. And we're an AI-first trucking software company. So we kind of look at where can we find spaces where we can apply AI in a practical way in the trucking space. So for us today, that's taking the operational data of fleets and driving value back into their business. So that's one of our prime goals and directives, and every product we build is centered around that.
So your technology based around the things that you like the most now.
Yeah, it worked out quite well for me.
So it's funny how they connect, right?
Totally.
I'm in the same position. I'm decent with the whole marketing and talking thing. I love cars and trucks, and here I am at Mack Trucks.
Yeah. It's funny how life works out that way sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
It makes the best opportunities happen too.
Agreed.
So how did you find out about the opportunity? What was some of the things behind the technology solution that you feel works with the transportation industry?
An AI-first company would have to have similar thinking in the people that run that company. So before we built any AI software, we studied trends in the market. And we noticed that one of the gaps in the market was the data that trucking companies generate. So one of our original products, that was derived from ELDs. So you're driving out there, you're generating operational data, but it's not pointing anywhere. Well, that's not true. It pointed to compliance.
Yeah.
And compliance is necessary, but it doesn't drive revenue back into a business, aside from the fact that you must stay compliant to stay in business.
Yeah.
So we thought that data could be pointed instead to figure out how to make better decisions in the spot market. So that was our first dive into studying the market deeply, figuring out where there's a gap, and then pattern matching and building a product around it. So that allowed us to build on top in layers on how we got to where we are today. That took about a year and a half to really see how we could experiment with trucking companies. So everything we did was always trucking centric, like customer centric. We never really built in a black box and then sent it out to people. Instead, we said, hey, what would this be like if we did X, Y, Z? And would it actually be meaningful to your business? So when we started, it was just owner operators and small trucking companies. So one person, one truck, maybe like a guy building his business and bringing his first few hires in and changing his hat from a driver to a dispatcher and a company owner. So what does the business change look like on that side? So that's where we concentrated our efforts. And it scales well. So the problem of an owner-operator scales to a very large fleet. It just transforms in order of magnitude. So you're
Like what?
So you're still trying to, naturally you're trying to be profitable. Trucking, it's very hard to have good margins in trucking because it's an operational heavy business. Now, when I say it kind of scales in magnitude is you're always trying to grow. So if you have one truck and you want to go to 3 trucks, the first thing you have to think about is the asset. Like, can you bring more trucks in? Can you make them useful and utilize them? But the other one is drivers. So you can see how that scales quite well as you go to 50, 100, 250 trucks. You have your assets, which you have to kind of keep in good working order. And your people who drive those trucks, they have a very, they're diverse. Some people are doing it just as a job. Some people love trucking, right? So, and those are two very different people. So I think that's what we learned in the early days. Some folks want a tool today and have no interest to understand how it works. Other people want a tool today for tomorrow and want to understand how it works and impact that tool. So where we are today in our journey, those fleets that actually help us build out the rule sets of how our software works, they feel and they do have a lot of skin in the game. So I think that's super exciting from where we originated to where we are now. The same principles guide us.
Right. Well, kind of like the market. It's not static.
Totally.
Ebbs and flows, and technology is not just, well, it moves so quickly that you can't just buy something now. If you buy a computer now, it's obsolete in a couple of years anyway, or a phone in that matter.
I wish we got years. It feels like months or weeks now. Yeah.
So it's quick.
Yeah.
All right. So I looked at your website, and it said that your mission is the empowerment of carriers. To do what?
I think to use technology to grow operationally resilient businesses. That's the thing we want to empower trucking companies to do. And when I say resilient, I mean to market forces. So as you mentioned, it's not static. And when the market is at a high, not just trucking companies, but I think any business tends to lean into that high. And maybe operational resilience goes to the back, like kind of falls down in scale of priority and order of priority. And when we introduce technology, some portion of what we create is to drive that resilience when the market changes. So like a concrete example would be we predict lane imbalances, both pricing and volume, and help fleets route their trucks away from an imbalance or where there's a low market, and maybe they can contemplate new routes for their business. And when the market turns, they have those resilient routes that put them in a position to survive or thrive in a down market. And we've seen that in the last, now unfortunately nearing like 30 plus months in the freight recession.
Right.
And hopefully 2026 looks better for the trucking industry. But we believe that in those times, you can still implement solutions that help you, like help your business survive and thrive even in a down market.
Yeah. I remember my dad, we'd drive around looking for the cheapest gas. And he would drive 100 miles to save, 5 cents. It's an exaggeration, but to the same point, when you have a truck that's got 100 plus gallon tank and you need fuel, and you're near a state line, where do you go? How do you find it? And, how do you find it when you're moving? Because you don't want to be distracted. I'm guessing some of the tools you have enable the driver to have that access to maximize their profit and maybe even save some money when they're having to refuel.
Yeah, you're right. So we look at many data points. One of them is fuel. So what we try to do is create a system that on some level predicts, but on some level has a set of known inputs that create like the same outputs. So To give you a concrete example around the topic of AI is that our systems and most systems out there are hybrids. So they consist of two things. So you're in your fuel example, fuel is going to run out. That's definitive. Like at some point, your fuel will run out. Now, is it going to be after you drop off a load? Is it going to be on the route, depending if it's a long cycle and you're delivering 3,000-mile load? It could be cross country. So then you ask yourself a few things like, where do you want to fill? What discount cards do you have? How much hours of service do you have? What is the next load you want to pick up as a deadhead back? So what we do is we create a system that can do two things. On the probabilistic side, which is basically trying to create a prediction of what might happen, we would do something like, based on all the data we have coming in, we will determine what's the likelihood of them taking this load as a backhaul. On the deterministic side, meaning that we know the inputs and what the output's going to be, we'll say there's 7 hours of driving time left. They have 25 gallons till empty. We have to route them in a certain way to make all of these things work and increase the probability they'll take a load back and not be empty driving home. That system means that the driver and the operator and the dispatcher and basically the entire company can rest assured there's not just one model of thinking. Because in your point, your example with your dad, one model is like, I find the cheapest option possible, right? And of course, he didn't drive around to save 5 cents. He maybe saved more, hopefully. Right. But that means there are opportunities he might have lost. Like if you drove to save 5 cents, maybe you lost out on groceries. You missed part of it. So in trucking, very similarly, you make one decision, there's downstream effects. So when we create our systems and our AI software, we try to take a holistic view of the market and take the trucking company's internal knowledge and apply it to the system because they know a lot. They've learned a lot. They operate every day. There are reasons they might avoid inclines, toll bridges, certain routes, certain cities that we have to take into account and actually build it in the system. So it's a 1-2 punch. It's not just the system making decisions on its own. It's both parties contributing.
Yeah. When you think about the GPS that we use, Google or Waze or other apps, at first, we used to just go to the computer, put in the destination, and print it out, through MapQuest, and we'd follow that. But we would have some control over the routes, which way it would go prior to the planning.
Right.
Of course, the truckers are still planning their routes. But speaking to the technology, it's almost anymore. You just put in the destination, you forget where you're going, and just let it kind of navigate you through there with that blind trust. But at the beginning, it's kind of like, wow, where am I going? Is it going to lead me in the right path?
Totally.
So there's this whole trust in technology that has to happen at the same time as understanding that it's working with you, even though it may reroute you when you don't think you need to.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I think trucking companies, I think all people should use this, but credit to all trucking companies, it's trust and verify. I have very rarely seen blind trust with trucking companies, and that's the way it should be because, again, they have a knowledge set that rivals a very basic machine before it learns more. And I think that's a great thing where you earn the trust and they verify if what you're actually putting out there brings value to their business because it's very rarely you hear of a truck accidentally routing into a river, but you do hear people doing that because they're blindly trusting a GPS. So I think that's one of the distinctions that's great about commercial driving, right? Yeah. Where you have some routing right in your mind that kind of helps you navigate the world.
Yeah, and the world of a truck is you don't have the ability to maneuver like a truck, like a regular passenger car or SUV.
Yeah.
You've got potentially 53 feet behind you. You can't just turn around. You can't do a U-turn. Your diversion may take you 10, 20 miles or more just to be able to turn around where you can find ample space to do it.
Agreed.
Or you just have to reroute altogether.
Yeah.
God forbid there's not a low bridge, or something where it compromises your ability to navigate.
Yeah.
You have to plan ahead.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. And you learn a lot of nuances while you're on the road, how weather changes. Again, tolls change. I think even highway construction, traffic. So there's a lot of events that happen, like some of the news that goes out, if there's like Independence Day, do not drive in these areas, or if there's like some natural event happening where large groups of people come, truckers have to now reroute themselves right away from major highways or major centers. So that's a really interesting part about trucking. It's nothing static. Not even things that you believe are static, like for sure the highway is going to be open at this point. It's not. Right. So we're constantly ingesting that data, both as people, operators, and the software we build.
Yep. Today, we highlight Road Dog Coffee Company and their premium coffee for the highway hero within. Your first order comes with a 20% discount. You can select from many different coffees, from the blonde roast, named Women Truckers Love Coffee, to the popular medium roast, Long Haul, to their dark roast, Black Dog. Road Dog Coffee Company offers its coffee to anyone who supports and loves our highway heroes. Road Dog Coffee is focused on its mission of supporting the men and women of transportation who work hard, day in and day out, because they love what they do and we love them. Your initial order receives a 20% discount. After that, use the code MACK15, no spaces, to receive a 15% discount on your additional purchases. That's MACK15. Visit RoadDogCoffee.com today and get on the road. We are here with Amit with Class 8, and let's talk a little bit about the freight recession. 30 months, companies are in a position where they're wanting to maximize their runs, keeping the costs low and keeping in business. I mean, the downside is the market's flooded after COVID, and trucking companies are suffering, trying to make that profit. Some are going out of business.
Yeah.
What would compel them to look into this type of solution? What is the other side? I mean, it may have a cost associated with it too, but what's that proposition there?
So we have products for different segments of the market. So I'll give an example of a product that we've released recently. And what it seeks to do is drive an efficiency back into an operation of a routine task. So the routine task is calling out and sourcing freight. So we have smart load boards that we've developed, and to complement them, we created basically a voice AI system that can take a shipment and call out to a broker and find out the routine details. Now, why this may sound like a very simple task, but if you're a dispatcher, you can spend 30 to 45 minutes on a load trying to source it, because one of the techniques in the industry pushed on the broker side is to give sparse information when you post a load, to encourage you to call in and negotiate and go back and forth and get all the details. Now, you can imagine if you said, load's picking up in Chicago, delivering to Dallas, no weight is posted. That's frustrating because you have a maximum requirement on your trailer. You can't exceed that. Now you're calling in just to find out the weight. And the person says, it's like whatever, maybe it's overweight, maybe it's the right weight. Well, you've just spent time kind of finding a very maybe obvious piece of information that you'd rather not spend your time that way. So we create tools to solve practical tools that solve real problems. So in this example, even though we're in a down market, you want to increase the amount of options you have that are verified while not using your human labor or human capital in a way that might be counterproductive. So if a dispatcher spends 45 minutes sourcing one load, just the requirements, they could have otherwise spent that time on check calls, sourcing new business, finding new shipper clients. So we kind of want to route that time as place better spent. So we created this tool to drive that routine task into the dispatcher's inbox and let them make a quick decision based on already verified loads. So I think those are the type of things we can do and we are doing to drive efficiency without driving. It's not a huge cost center, like it's a very accessible product. And I think that gives trucking companies the confidence that, hey, I can route my team towards an activity I know is more high value. And I think for most companies that is establishing relationships that are more stable, right? It's like a shipper contract in a down market is more valuable than just having spot market every week because it goes up and down. So companies adjust. And when the market goes back on a high, they may drop those contracts and play the market. So this is a long-standing cycle of freight. Again, this is a uniquely long freight recession, but I do think we'll get out of it. There are a lot of indicators showing that we will. And when we do, this software is still applicable and the other things we're working on will adjust naturally to some of the market changes. But again, back to my earlier point, we're trying to build that resilience in. So no matter if the market's at a high or low, we can actually use our tools to adjust and kind of modify your business around efficiency.
What real world problems do you solve for truckers and the trucking industry? You mentioned dispatch as one of them.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the idea of segmentation. If you have just got a truck and if you purchase, it's your first truck, you're trying to figure out how to get your feet off the ground, basically. So one of the products we offer for that particular segment is a product called Load Finder, available through Mack Trucks. It allows you to go in, find freight. So one of the things top of mind is getting loads, making sure your truck is full. So in that area, what we offer is the aggregation of many loads in one place. So what that means in practice is that you might have 3 subscriptions. So you have 3 screens you search from. In this case, you can connect them all in one place. So you connect them in one place. As you can imagine, it's easier to search and find your options. What we've done there as well is, again, working closely with trucking companies of different sizes, from owner-operator up to hundreds of trucks. There are practical day-to-day implementations that don't scale. What I mean by that is brokers will send options to your inbox. And sometimes they're very easy to read, and sometimes it's chicken scratch.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. So, and there could be, 40, 50 emails that come in of available loads that your dispatch team has to go through, sift through, and decide if they're good options for your fleet. What we've done in Load Finder is we can parse all of those emails and neatly put them inside the application for you to search through. Now that cuts down significant time and makes it a lot easier and more accessible for your fleet to decide if they're good options. So that's on the spot market side of interacting with a search interface.
Yeah.
When you are in that interface and you say, okay, I got to call 15 options. Okay, I'm going to call the first one, but there's 14 more. We developed a voice AI that I mentioned earlier that will take that information and the contact inside and call out and find out what options are actually verified via brokers. So why this is important is one of the pain points is that some postings go stale. They posted it a half an hour ago. It's already been booked. They posted it half an hour ago. It turns out that they actually don't have the load commission. Like, it's not given to them through a shipper. They might be able to get it. Now, you can imagine that's a frustrating series of calls.
Right.
So we added that feature on, and the trucking company can configure it and give it a rule set that allows it to follow company rules. So what I mean by that is, don't get something that's 32,000 pounds when the max is 30. Don't get something that's $1.50 a mile. It has to be $2 minimum for us to run our truck. So those can be configured up front. And then what we've also done is, trucking is a people business. It's connections. It's not about machine to machine interactions. It is about you and I establish a relationship, and I can go back to you and you can go back to me. So I think oftentimes it's painted as adversarial between truckers and brokers, and rightfully so. Both parties have done things to make that narrative true. But the other side of it is there's a lot of strong connections between broker reps and trucking company dispatchers, owner-operators, et cetera. So one of the things we've done is you can actually just patch live into the owner of the dispatcher, the owner-operator, or someone at the trucking company, and the broker can talk right with that person. We think that's helped this hesitation of, I don't want to give up information to a machine. What if it's like a fraudulent system?
Right.
It's calling from XYZ. I don't know if it's real. All you have to do is let me talk to a person. It goes right to the person who owns the tool. And I think that's a way the trucking community can look at AI systems, that they actually move the wand. It's not magic. Like, they're the ones that's actually I'm just going to go far with this magic analogy for a second. It requires like some kind of spell.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are actually making the spell and pointing the wand. The magic that happens after, yes, that's in the software.
Sure.
But I think the control of that is very important, and we've made sure that the systems show that. Like, as soon as you interact with it, you realize you're in control.
Right.
There is no your destiny is not being altered in a secret black box, which I think it's really important, because spending so much time with truckers, they're very proud of their work, right? And they want to know that their value in the supply chain continues on, even when autonomous vehicles roll out, even when decision making is being kind of delegated to machines, they still want to show that they're valuable in that equation. And I think they are, and they'll continue to be so.
Well, you touch on an interesting topic because of AI, what it is. We were looking at a poster in our hallway of maximum overdrive, right? The computers and the machines take over.
Yeah.
Well, I think people in the trucking industry, obviously, they're out for the business, they're out for their customers and their employees, and they want to make the right decisions, and they want to have that level of control while still utilizing technology to help them do those things. But there's this concern over technology. What's it going to do if it's self-thinking?
Yeah.
Because it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Would you speak a little bit to that and on how an owner can utilize this technology, still maintaining that control?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll give a specific example. Let's say load booking. So automating the process of load booking. So I think the fear that could be generated on both sides is, one, it goes out and does some things that I did not ask it to do. So on that side, AI basically studies a large data set, finds patterns, makes decisions. And when it makes decisions, it's not making them without a human in the loop. So someone is actually modulating and regulating and deciding that was good, that was bad. And in this case, it's the trucking company. So what we've done is design a system where you can tweak it even in real time. So when you're seeing things outputting that make no sense to your business, you can adjust it. It works with existing systems, like, for example, carriers have to use a pre-approved list of brokers by your factoring company. This is a perfect example. So if it goes out and books a load on an unapproved company by your factoring business, like, as I mentioned, very thin margins in trucking, cash intensive, and you need cash flow. So most companies use a factoring company to get paid faster than the 30, 60, 90 cycles, which are a little bit insane, quite frankly, but that's what they are. We actually verify, like, through an API to determine that's approved. So you can imagine where the system can't run off and become like the movie. Like, it's not possible at this stage because artificial general intelligence has not been achieved. So what we're doing is making sure that those patterns and signals that AI can uniquely study and bring to your business can be easily and quickly understood. So we add a layer. We don't have the systems we create give a machine technically sophisticated description to anyone. We add a layer of explainability. So a trucking operator can easily understand it and say, okay, this ingested weather, probability, lane imbalances, market shifts, pricing changes. No one wants to hear all of that. They want to hear, like, this market is at a high, enter it, expect a backhaul and a good rate. This market's at a low, consider rerouting to ABC. And if you do, here is fuel, here are alternate pieces you should consider. This will affect your HOS. So plain language is very helpful, I think, in adding trust to the system. And as mentioned earlier, the trust and verify part about trucking is amazing. Like, it can be harsh when you're positioning a product because you're facing, skeptics, which is rightfully so, right? A lot of technology has flooded the trucking industry and made people are skeptical. Like, is this actually going to add value to my business? So we embrace that. And we say, let us prove our value through our tech instead of saying, like, this is the silver bullet. Because I don't think there are silver bullets, not in trucking, certainly.
Yeah, I'm a little bit naive in this particular thing, so help me out. And I'm sure there might be some people listening that want to know too, spot market jobs versus contract. It sounds a little bit like playing the stock market. You want to have the proper information to transact. But then you have a normal contract. Let's say it's a bond, and over certain years, you're guaranteed this amount. So there are two things that you can do on the financial side. In the trucking industry, it sounds similar. So first of all, help me understand the difference in those two things, but also how this technology might be able to help an owner make the best depending on the market.
Sure. Yeah, great question. So the spot market, it's basically it's a set of the overall freight that moves in the United States. It's spot for a reason because prices are set based on a variety of factors, including available capacity. You can imagine I have to move a load almost like in an episodic way. Like there's 5 things I need to move. I contract you as my broker, and I'm a shipper of, let's say I'm moving beer. It's 5 beer loads. I don't know how much next week is going to be. I don't even know how to set the prices for this particular commodity. That would enter the spot market. So as a broker, you'll source truckers through load boards, typically through load boards. You'd also use your connections, which I mentioned, like those emails that come in. So you'd send, I don't know, 1,000 emails, so as many truckers as you can, and say, I got these loads. What you'll typically do as a broker is not tell the price. So the smart market price becomes a moving target. So there's the price that's posted, which might be derived from previous historical data. It might be, sometimes it's derived just from intuition. Like, I think I can move this. These are famous last words. I think I can move this for, and then insert low price. And a trucking company will get frustrated and say, I know this is moving for more. And where our software comes in is that intuition becomes an actual objective truth through data. So we pull in pricing, historical pricing, predictive pricing, and real pricing. We give that to truckers, and they can say, what I thought should be $257 a mile, it's in fact should be $257 a mile. And in the spot market, you want that pricing power because these things are transactional, right? They're here today, gone tomorrow. Versus in a contract, as you mentioned, it's more secure. So you're setting a price for a predetermined amount of freight that's going to move over a time series that's longer. Could be 6 months, could be 1 year. And those contract rates are like typically through an RFP process that goes on in different cycles. People try to win the RFPs, brokers and carriers included, and then actually work on that freight. Where the market gets interesting is that you can have a contract and break it to move in the spot market. So now there's like a huge rush of commodities in the particular lane, and there's low coverage. The rate spikes up. It might actually be higher than your contract. So trucking companies make the decision, if we break it and move to the spot market, is there enough like upside?
And is there longevity?
And we saw that during the boom, like during the boom and like, especially during COVID, contracts were being broken left, right, and center to move to the spot market, which was, the pay was really high, right? So, and now we see the opposite trend. So I think it's about, a hybrid system. And I think it's about maintaining a good relationship with your shippers, with your brokers. So if you're in a contract, it actually makes business sense to break it. Tell your client, right? See if there's a negotiation space that makes sense for your business. I think that actually elevates the relationships in trucking, right? Like a lot of it is kind of like burn bridge business tactics. Like, I'll never see this person again. That's not true in trucking. You're going to see the person again. It might not be that exact person, but there's some like collective memory. So bad actors are found, and it's hard to work with them. So I think like data helps because it's transparent, it's objective truth, you can see it. But being like a willing participant in it is even more helpful. And we encourage like the trucking companies we work with, if you have good broker relationships, let the data stream to them. Like finish the whole circle. Like let them come to the table and say, hey, I see your capacity is verified. Let me move the rate up because I know I can rely on you, and I can say it's objective truth. So that's one of the things we're working on in our products, like having that sometimes contentious relationship become a little smoother. So it's an uphill battle, but we're working on it.
A lot of the interviews I've had have been with companies, family business, and it's been generation to generation. They've been in business for a long time, have long-term relationships with their customers, and there's word of mouth, and it spreads quickly. And if there's a particular company that's consistently breaking those promises, that word gets out too. In other words, I guess kind of what you're sharing with me about the technology solution is it allows trucking companies to foster the relationships while allowing the technology to kind of handle the minutia, the back-end research, so it gives them the tools that they can use to have that interaction.
Exactly. Some of the decision making, it's just too big for one person to hold in their mind. And I think like if you are able to apply another model, in this case a software model, into your business, it's to look at it like a tool is probably the best way, right? Like if you learned you learn how to own the Chicago to Dallas lane. Like that's your lane. You own it. No one's better than you in moving freight in that area. What happens when a competitor takes a portion of your freight and you have to diversify your positioning? Adding like a decision-making software tool helps with that immensely.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from your innate abilities to be valuable, but it supplements it. So I think that's what we're seeing today with AI systems. A good writer becomes a better writer using something like ChatGPT not because it's writing for them, because they're brainstorming now.
Right.
So thinking of it that way, you're brainstorming with a machine that's watching so much more of the trucking marketing that you ever could as a person. And it's not a limitation of you. It's just, I mean, we're humans, right? And it's a very complex, fast-moving market. So that's how I kind of position it to customers. If you could, whiteboard with a machine intelligence and it makes you a better performer, give it a try, right? Like see how it actually impacts your day-to-day and unlock more time.
This Week in History.
This week in history. National Truckers Appreciation Day is on October 4th, 10/4. National Truckers Appreciation Day is a day to show our gratitude for those that deliver the food on your table, the clothes on your back, and everything else you use and consume. Currently, there are 3.5 million truckers on the road and off across America. Many times they go unnoticed and unappreciated, even though they make huge sacrifices to keep this country moving. They literally put their lives on the line every day. Many of them are away from their families for days, weeks, or even months at a time. There's a rich, deep history of trucking in the U.S., and there's no better day than 10/4 to show our appreciation. So roll down your window and give a big thumbs up to every trucker you see on 10/4, or motion for them to honk their horns.
This has been This Week in History.
We are here with Amit with Class 8, and we're talking about technology and solutions for the trucking world. And you just released one in conjunction with Mack Trucks called Load Finder. So let's kind of set up a scenario. I start a trucking company, and I'm excited. I've got a contract, and I've got full loads going from North Carolina to St. Louis. Make my first load. I'm excited. Contract's fulfilled. I'm early, so customer's really happy. Now I have to drive back, and I'm empty.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a scenario, or perhaps things change when truckers are on the road for an extended period of time. Maybe there's a lag between point B and point C where they can fill a load. So let's talk about Load Finder, what it does for the truckers.
Sure. I'm going to talk about it as a whole in a moment, but to your specific scenario, you're going to deliver freight and you're going to be in a situation where you need a backhaul. Now, getting there and starting to search or searching at a rest stop or calling dispatch and saying, hey, you got to work on that. Make sure I'm number one out of the other 15 trucks you're working on. That's no easy task. So Load Finder actually ingests data from the truck. So if you book something and you're heading somewhere, we're going to start to figure out what are the options coming out of that area, like what are your backhaul options, and email them to you. So this is where the smart recommendations come in. They're generated from data we're ingesting from multiple sources, including your truck. So it's highly specific to your company's goals. So for example, if you're going into a market where rates are lower, like you're head hauling into with a really great rate, but you can accept a lower rate going back to home or wherever, maybe your home terminal or another place, we can use that rule set along with our pricing prediction to say, hey, here's 10 options before you get there. Forward it to dispatch or call on your own. If you actually bundle that and add in voice AI, don't make the calls. Let it call for you and get the verified options.
Yeah.
So with Load Finder, you have the ability to get smart recommendations right into your inbox. By adding in additional tools, you can kind of automate and create more time efficiency. But I'd say right out of the gate, as soon as you sign up with Load Finder, you can find options that's you actively searching. So the typical like search, the difference would be that these searches are taking into account your data, like specific rules and data sets that's coming from your company. And the other thing we've done in Load Finder is when you get that flux of emails to your inbox from brokers saying we have these options, We grab all of them, put them into the search in Load Finder, so you don't have to actually go through your inbox one by one and try to figure out what options are available. And that becomes part of our recommendations. So it's not just load boards in Load Finder, it's also your email inbox that has broker freight that's been semi-tailored to your business. Someone who knows your business is sending that list. Now that could be a curation that's really specific, or it could be more generalized, but it all goes into the same pool. We figure out what might be the best recommendation, and we send a subsequent email that's highly curated right into your inbox. So
someone told me about the definition or the formula for luck. It's timing and preparedness, right? So you think about a trucker. How do you prepare for that load on the way back? You have to do the research. That takes time. Well, by the time you find it, you might be late. Well, if you're driving, you don't have the time to research. You don't want to pull over and slow down your timing. So this technology tool can really kind of make luck happen predictably.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to frame it. I guess I would add that you get the luck component probably comes from the driver being able to lean in to the the timing and the preparedness. So leaning in meaning like the software allows you to apply and build your luck elsewhere. And what I mean by that is if you have recommendations coming in that have taken in account your HOS, your positioning, where you need a backhaul, your rate conditions, your weight, your truck, all these constraints, now you can go get lucky somewhere else. You deliver the load, or you have dispatch work on your next book of business. And I think that is the unlock we want to drive to customers. Use the tools to apply your time elsewhere to build more value into your business. And having that ratio where if you're running 80% spot today and your goal is to get down to 60, you want 40% contract based on a particular market you're in, these things allow you to apply that time that way. And I think that gives you the confidence too as a business when you're approaching new customers, if you're starting to reuse your time that way, is you're investing in technology, you're investing in your business. You know that as things change, you can support your clients. And I think that's something that especially small companies maybe underinvest in. They're kind of supporting the company the best way they know how, which is delivering their freight. But adding these pieces of technology like Load Finder, it allows you to support your team and your client base because you're creating a more diverse business ultimately. So that's something we encourage customers to kind of think about as they're contemplating using this tech.
I gave you a very specific example, right? You were going to generalize Load Finder and what that offers.
Sure, yeah. So when you sign up for Load Finder, you're going to get access to proprietary connections we created with a multitude of sources. So what I mean by that is that we have broker direct freight coming in from sources like C.H. Robinson. So you can search through very easily based on your equipment type, your schedule, like where you want to deliver, and your time windows, as well as you can set target rates. So you're going to get that no matter if you're getting it through Mack Connect or you're using another branded truck. It's accessible to all like mixed fleets.
Right.
So I think that's a powerful part of Load Finder. Even if you're not running all Mack trucks, you can still access the application.
And we love that too, right? Of course, Mack's proud to offer that and through our Mack Connect services. But, we got to be realistic here. Not every company has 100% Mack Trucks.
Exactly.
For whatever reason that might be.
Right.
And for them to utilize the tool, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's also taking, like, to your point, fleets are diverse, right? The truck inventory, the truck fleet, it could be purchased at different times, different use cases, duty cycle. Like, there's so many things to think about. And I think having a tool that can be valuable to mixed fleets, it puts a lot of value and power. Like you were saying earlier on our site, it says we want to empower trucking companies. Well, one way we do that is through accessibility. We don't close the door because some piece is not exactly positioned as we want it to be. We open it and we invite them in and allow them to use tools like Load Finder and see how they can drive value back into their business, even if they're driving a mixed fleet. So I think generally what I would say is sign up, see how it can find options for you, and connect your data to get the smart recommendations. If you're not using a Mack truck and you're not using it through Mack Connect, you can connect ELD data.
Okay.
So we connect through any ELD you have. We can connect data in, and you can start taking advantage of the smart recommendations. And I think that will be the eye-opening part of that. This is not just a load board I search through. It searches for me passively and sends me active recommendations while I'm going to a place where I need to backhaul.
Yeah. And of course, with technology comes cost. What's the price for Load Finder?
Well, I think everybody's going to love this. It is free to access.
Yeah.
There's no cost associated to Load Finder. So whether you're a mixed fleet or you're running Mack Trucks, you can access it for free.
Yeah. How do people find you?
So you can go to class8.com. You can find
Is it the number 8 spelled out?
It is 8, the number 8.
Okay,
Just
so
number
class
8, yeah.
number 8.com.
.com, yeah. So you can contact us there through Load Finder links. We're also our team is available through that as well. We might find you as well because we do a lot of outbound activities. So both. Yeah, you can find us through that site. But our team talks to 20, 30, 40 companies a day. We've had thousands of conversations to date, so we are out there. It's not a don't find us, we'll find you situation. Please do call us as well. Contact us. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning into Beyond the Bulldog with Amit Alhuwalia, one of the co-founders of Class 8. Our podcast is centered around providing stories and content that keeps you entertained and informed. Let us know what you think about this week's podcast and share ideas about what you want to hear and who you think would be a great guest. Please leave your suggestions in the comments section below.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe and make sure to follow the Bulldog.